Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to introduce you to this fabulous leader, Lydia. Lydia has a deep relationship with horses, animals, and nature her entire life. Since childhood, horses and animals have come to Lydia in dreams as pillars of light. In times of hardship, when no answers could be found, it was through Lydia's connection with the natural world and the guidance of the spirit animals that Lydia has found solutions that she's needed. Understanding this deep connection inspired Lydia to study animal behavior, then on to complete an MES degree, and was involved in the first global climate change negotiations through UNEP in 1988. That's awesome. Lydia was then guided by dreams to dedicate her life to holistic healing with Reiki and macrobiotics when she experienced firsthand the power of those modalities to heal her own chronic health conditions. Lydia is a trained therapist. And in addition to her BSc in psychology, she's also achieved an advanced counseling certification from George Brown College, has been a member of Coachville and Ontario Association of Mental Health Professionals for many years. Lydia, also known as Lady Apona, brings together 30 years of training, expertise, and experience in her Apona healing method to help both humans and horses heal. As a therapist and holistic coach, Lydia offers equine assisted therapy and equine healing retreats to help clients return to wholeness through heart-centered transformational relationships with horses. Oh, what a biography I have here for you, Lydia. And I'm glad that you didn't ask me to pronounce your last name, because even though I've practiced, I knew I would screw it up. But I love the name that you've given yourself, or maybe someone else had given you, as Lady Apona. And I hope I said that right. But thank you so much, Lydia, for being here on this conference and sharing your wisdom.
Well, thank you, Lisa. It's an honor and pleasure to be here. So excited to learn about this amazing telesummit that unites spirituality and business, which really is the future of
Yeah.
success in business and in everything that we do.
Yeah.
I've incorporated it for a long time,
Yeah.
and I have lots of stories to tell about that.
Awesome.
But spirituality in my business and my life is a fundamental pillar for my success, for how I decide to sort of move through the world and manifest.
Awesome. Awesome. And so, I gave you this great introduction, and there's so much in here. I know you've had so much experience in many different modalities. And, I wonder if you can share a little bit about how you came to be where you are now, and any experiences you've had along the way that have guided you to this place. I know we talked about it a little bit beforehand, but can you share that with our audience?
Absolutely, I'd love to. It all began when I was born, actually. And I was born with deformed organs and was very
Oh,
weak and sick as a
yeah.
child. And doctors did their best to help me. But because it wasn't an easily diagnosed health condition,
Mm.
they had a challenging time trying to help me. So that's when the whole spiritual element in my life came in at the age of 10. And I started having dreams about animals speaking to
Mm.
me. And I remember there would be birds with like golden beaks talking
Mm.
to me when I'd be in like a lot of pain or really sick. And then we lived on a farm, and I asked my parents to build me a fort in our ravine so I could connect with nature and
Mm.
have like a flower garden in the middle of the forest right when the sun came down, and have the animals around. So that's really how I first connected with nature, animals, spirituality, was through really difficult, like a health crisis, but it was a chronic health condition. And
Yeah.
then at that age, I said to myself, well, first of all, I didn't like being sick all the time. And then with a
Mm.
chronic health condition, you're sort of okay for a while and then not okay. And it's hard to commit and participate. So I said to myself, I didn't like this. And I didn't come to the planet to be half alive. I came
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
planet to be alive, fully engaged. And I didn't want the burden of this challenging, heavy health condition. It was energetically draining. So I had
Yes.
to use my mental focus and my emotional stability to pull my body around all the time. And there was no real creative energy left, except when I fell asleep. And when I fell asleep was when I have all these dreams, right?
That's wonderful.
So that's got me going, yeah, on my spiritual path. And you were very alone in those days. I came from Ukrainian background that are very hardworking, very focused. And in my family, although my father was an artist originally, he unfortunately shut that off from his own life. So there was no talk about spirituality. There was no talk about meditation, or energy healing, but just a lot of good work, which was a good foundation for me. But so I brought that those values into my own spiritual understanding and awareness.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And so it sounds like you started your journey as a result of kind of healing your own medical challenges, and the animals were a connection there. So what led you to want to work more deeply with animals?
Well, part of it were the dreams, but again, my family wanted me to have a regular job and and a secure job, of course.
Yep. Yep.
And I was a very good student, and I studied well. I would study a lot to get good grades, and so I went through the academic system and went to university, and my parents wanted me to do a regular profession, but I was guided to study animal behavior. And so I took sciences at U of T. And then in my final year, I added environmental science. And back then that was revolutionary because everybody said, oh no, like, don't do that. You'll never get a job, right?
It wasn't common back then. You're right. Yeah.
No, and it was very stressful for my family when I made these decisions. But then they saw my years of healing. They saw how I was dedicated to my healing and how all my money went into getting supplements or going later on in my 20s for acupuncture and holistic health. So they saw the transformation within me, but I was still in the old paradigm. So I was living this spiritual existence and learning a deep relationship with myself while I was in the old paradigm, which is what us conscious leaders, as Renaissance women and men, are all about, is helping to bridge the old paradigm to the new paradigm of light, I like to call it. So we had to be in both worlds in order to bridge them. And same thing with the spiritual and material world. It's we're bridging both of them at the time. And going forward. And I think I mentioned to you before the from Greg Braden. We all love Greg Braden.
Yes.
And he talked years ago in some of his writings about how there was a prophecy about a grouping of souls that would come to the earth who would live in the spiritual and material world simultaneously in order to help bring in the new age of light. And I remember listening to Greg thinking, I wonder who those people are. I'm really impressed. I had no idea whatsoever that I was one of them. And of course you are, and everyone here today on the summit, as we're all part of that beautiful grouping of souls coming to bring in the light. So for a long time, I was very quiet about my inner spiritual life and my dedication to my health. And through that, I learned great focus, discernment of my own state of being and how to navigate myself. And then I went through and did a master's degree in an environmental policy, international environmental policy. And I loved my work. It was fantastic. And no one believed in climate change, or no one cared about it back then. But I loved writing policy, and it was a huge shift for me to leave it all behind. And I can tell you how that happened. Would you like to hear about that?
Absolutely. Yes, of course. Yes, share it.
So it's hard to leave something you love
and
that you've been committed to. And I had all this education, And then I had these really powerful dreams. And these weren't just dreams that you could wonder what they meant. I mean, these were epic dreams of, me standing on a mountain with like, robes on or something, right? And then like words saying the time is now, sort of
Like something from a movie. I love it. Yes.
and you wake up jolted.
Mhm.
And then you go, okay, right, okay, all right, I get the message. So in those days I had them almost every time I fell asleep, whether
Wow.
I fell asleep for an afternoon nap or whether I slept through the night. And then I went into my what I call my deep healing, where I really had to cross finishing line and finally get my chronic health condition in order, get it healed, get myself to a higher level of functioning. So I wasn't always on a roller coaster, with it. So when I did that, I had dreams telling me to go deeply into macrobiotic healing food and Reiki. And of course I resisted it. And I argued in the dreams.
Even in the dreams you were resistant. I love it. Oh,
And I said, oh, I'll do it later. And it's like, no,
yeah.
the time is now. The time is now.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
they really worked on me. Like I wasn't opposed to what they were asking me to do, but I thought I had time.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, 40 years from now, I was in my 20s, I'll do it 30 years from now. So anyways, they obviously got through to me. And I started slowly as I got better. I was for about a year and a half. I was in what I call my healing, where I was literally sleeping 16 hours a day, cooking, chewing my food, in a complete cocoon of transformation. And I had dreams about the earth. I had dreams about the coming of the great light. I had dreams where I would be like a white energy in people's bodies and see their organs. And I would just wake up and have to do the dishes, have to wake up, and do the laundry. It's that Buddhist expression, before enlightenment shopping, after enlightenment shopping wood,
That's right.
And
Yes.
and hard times too, because I didn't have any money. And here I was going through this big transformation by myself. And it just in it, like, and that's where I really learned Taoist non-attachment, of just being fully committed without fear and influence from the outside world. Because I really didn't know how I'd pay the rent, but I did.
Yeah.
And then, then each day turns into each week, turns into each month. And suddenly I was out of the cocoon and I was a butterfly. And
I love it. I love it.
And so then I started slowly in the healing arts. And that was all through divine alignment, divine intervention. I always say divine alignment is divine timing.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we're in alignment with our higher self, grounded in our physical body, then manifestation is easy.
Yes.
From the inside out. It doesn't mean that there's no resistance, but we know what's happening. We have no doubt of what we're doing. And so that's how I got into the healing arts, and it's all word of mouth, and it pretty much has been for the last 25 years. That's about 30 years total.
That's wonderful.
And when I was deep healing, that's when horses came to me in dreams. And I had some dreams that my spirit was weaving in and out of a herd of horses. And I was told I was a sister of horses, but I didn't think of horses. I loved animals, but I didn't want to have a horse. And then the horses came about 10 years later. And since that time, I've been rescuing horses from slaughter and offer equine healing retreat and Reiki with the horses. And they still come to me and have very high expectations. And rightly so.
Yeah.
We should honor their high expectations.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit about my journey.
Yes. Yes. I just loved our conversation before about how you, you know, you always tended to listen to the messages that were coming to you. And whether they were in your dream life or in your waking life, you know, so many people here have dreams, and sometimes they are. I'm huge into dreams. I love dreams. When I was 18, I was studying Jungian dream interpretation while my friends were off partying, you know, on the weekends. I would go to a retreat and when I was 18 and sit around with like 50-year-old women studying this stuff, you know, and now I'm that 50-year-old woman like, yes, you know, but so many people have these dreams and they don't know that they're symbolic. They don't know that they could actually be messages. And so I don't know if we've really talked about that much on this conference yet, but I wonder if you can speak to that a little bit. And how do you know what the message means? How do you do that for yourself?
Well, when I was in my healing, I discerned that I had 7 types of dreams. And then I researched and found out there are 7 levels of consciousness. And so it does take a little bit of effort. It
Hmm.
does take a little bit of work to discern what dream is a message
Hmm.
and what is processing out old fears or present fears, or what's just, you know, I think Scrooge said a little bit of cheese that's indigested or something like,
Yes.
like, like what is just something not relevant, because we're in one energy field, and so we're always having different energies move around us and through us. And then it's up to our own frequency, ultimately, to decide which channel we're going to tune into.
Mhm.
And it becomes easier when your body and mind and spirit are aligned
Yes.
in a high frequency to tune into the best frequency for you.
Yeah.
And it becomes natural and automatic. It doesn't, it's not an intellectual exercise at that point.
Right.
But to get
Yeah.
there, it does take some time, and you see how dreams play out in your life. Like I remember when I started having premonition dreams, there were some of them were silly dreams, like somebody that I knew, a guy had really long red hair, and I had a dream he cut his hair really short, and then I saw him 6 months later and he cut his hair really short. So then
Yes.
so it was kind of like training
Mhm.
wheels, like my
Yes.
spirit
Yep.
guide,
Hmm.
and saying, you know, that was a dream of a message or a possible future outcome, because nothing's set, right? He may
Right.
not have cut his hair, but to show me that I had that connection that I could trust.
Right.
uh, so some dreams you're not sure about, some dreams may or may not manifest, but then they're the epic dreams, like
Hmm.
when the words "the time is now"
Yes.
and yeah, like you act on them because it's more real than the material world.
Yes. Absolutely.
Well,
And
it's
then
experience.
go ahead.
No, it's just experience. It's experience, and it's your own desire
Hmm.
to be whole, right? Like to
Yeah.
be a whole in body, mind, and spirit, so that you integrate those gifts that are being given to you from the spirit world, and so that you can act on it in the material. There has to be a desire
Hmm.
to integrate it and live it like that. Otherwise,
Yes.
we can just start it.
Sure. Absolutely. Have you ever had the experience where you didn't pay attention or that you didn't follow your intuition or your dreams or the messages coming through?
I have, and I can only think of minor examples, but I can give you a very, very brief one, which is not really that important. But when I was in studying zoology and biology at U of T, we had different sections in the course, and I wanted to study the section on the brain.
Hmm.
And everybody said, "Oh, no, that's too hard. Study the one on gene therapy and alleles." And I went against every cell in my body because all my friends told me that's the easy one. And when I got into that part of the course, I hated it. I couldn't study. I almost failed. And then the real thing came the night before the exams, and I went to the big library at U of T, Robarts Library, to study in one of the study rooms. And there was this great study group studying for the brain exam.
Oh,
and
wow.
I so wanted to be with them. And it really brought down my grade point average. And I
Wow.
learned a lot. That was, in my early 20s. I learned a lot about group dynamic, about being true to myself. And that was just intuition and interest. I didn't have dreams about that. But I try to really take it seriously,
Mm-hmm.
the spiritual integration into the material life. I take it very seriously. It's
Yes.
really a shortcut. For me, it's a shortcut to manifestation. Because when you really integrate that, you're led right to where you're supposed to go. And you don't have to fluff around. Like I had dreams telling me about a year before that I'd be moving to this property, to farm. And I, in the area. And I said in the dreams to the white beings that talked to me in dreams, I said, well, no way. That's like so far away. And I don't know anybody out there. And I have my clients in Toronto. But when it manifested, when I went on Kijiji for the heck of it. They posted the farm for sale for the heck of it. And when it all came together, it's been phenomenal. Like I didn't have to spend 6 months looking for a farm.
Yes.
I was seeing clients that had 3 months to live or 6 months to live and were in the middle of their deep healing. I didn't have to leave them because I could keep doing my healing work with clients because the farm was right there. And then the farm has phenomenal, it has crystals growing from the land. I can do healing.
Of course it does.
I can do healing retreats. I didn't even think of that before. I just wanted a little farm for me and my horses. There's all these buildings that I'm renovating, and it has my own hay. It's like the abundance and the alignment of being here keeps growing. And it's a complete fast track to my aligned manifestation that I couldn't have ever tried. Like if I had made that list of what I wanted from a logical point of view, how would I find a property like that? But my guide, this is where you're going to be going. Okay, all right. All right, okay. You're right again.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, that really resonates with me. And I know there have been so many times when I've listened to that inner prompting and I follow it. And then I get to the place where I thought I wanted to go anyway, so much faster. It almost feels like cheating. I mean, it's like going to the back of the book and reading the answer key, right?
That's perfectly said. Well, it is kind of cheating the intellect.
It is. You're bypassing it.
Yeah, you are, because you're going straight from source energy to aligned manifestation.
Yeah.
On the material plane. And so the intellect is just along for the ride.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I've actually heard people. Yeah.
Sorry?
I was going to say, I've actually heard people, this is interesting. So I've heard people say, but if all you do is just listen to the guides or listen to your inner knowing, whatever you call it, and then what's the fun of creating? Because you're just being told what to do or told where to go. And what I find, I know you're shaking your head. So speak to that. Go ahead. You answer that.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, no, I mean, I'm curious about your take on it, because one of the things that I chuckled about is I think that we have this expectation, and you talked about your history of getting to the place where you are in your career and your life's work. It's not even a career, it's life's work. And I've had the same experience where, you're told you have to do this degree to get this place and this, and I did all of that. I did everything right. And then I started integrating all this spiritual stuff that didn't really fit in neatly into the box. And then started manifesting things like, I wanted my own private practice, and I had this vision of where it was going to be in the town. I knew what town I wanted, but it was too expensive. And how on earth was I going to find anything? And within one afternoon, I couldn't quit my full-time job. because I had been working there for a long time. I had a good salary with a 401k and benefits. Like, I can't leave all of that. And one of my beautiful mentors at the time said, how many clients do you need, Lisa, in your private practice to be able to replace your salary? And I said, I don't know. She's like, do the math and tell me by 3 o'clock this afternoon. I'm like, okay. I did the math. And she said, where do you want your office? I'm like, and I told her exactly where I wanted it. I am not kidding when I say within probably 2 days, it wasn't overnight, within 2 days, she told me, I know someone who has space. It was within my price range. And by the way, she was working in another private practice. She says, we need help. She has 5 clients for you right now. And if you start now, you can build. And I was like, within 2 days, everything that I had wanted had just manifested. And what's funny is in the past, I was aligned, I was ready, but I still had doubt. But in the past, I would have said, well, what's the fun in that? But the truth was that the fun was in creating magic and having exactly what I wanted, but more. It was actually better, of course, like your example, better than what I experienced. And then you get to create something else that's even more magical next.
Well, this is well said, and thank you for sharing that. That's phenomenal. And so I like to say we didn't come here to paradise. We came here to create paradise.
Yes.
So um, even though you're guided, and sometimes you're not sure, and sometimes it's obvious, there is still the process of creating on the material plane that which spirit is guiding.
Yeah.
And there's joy, there's engagement, there's hard work, there are challenges. So starting here in my beautiful property, it was a fixer-upper. It had all these beautiful qualities to it and things that have been unfolding. We've been renovating, and juggling time and with caring for horses and seeing clients and having contractors.
Yeah.
And so you're guided to the opportunity for you to grow on every level. And so it's not that the fun is taken out of it. It's that there's a new joy and a new challenge in stepping into that guidance, stepping into that spiritual message that only the spirit in the material body can do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Well put.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so that is the joy in creating, that we have the gift, all of us, to be for a limited time, hopefully an evolved spiritual being in a physical body. And that is our mastery. Mm-hmm. That is what we have come down in a humble way, to self-master, is uniting that spiritual guidance and that spiritual energy into the material. So there's tremendous fun and there's tremendous work, but work as like love as work, right? Or work as love, that expression. You don't sort of get excused from having to do the mundane material things just because you're spiritually guided. Right. So I guess sometimes, maybe we make some sort of agreement or something, and we say, okay, I'll come down and I'll help to manifest this on the physical plane. And it's sometimes, it can be challenging, but it's joyful because you know why you're doing and what you're doing, and you feel empowered from within. You feel energized, even though you're tired.
Yes. Right? Yes. Absolutely.
So even though exhausted, you feel fulfilled and motivated. Mm-hmm. You're always motivated. You're always inspired. And so, when people would say, oh, why are you leaving your university degrees and you're suddenly going into healing arts? 30 years ago, I was interested in them. I say, well, I'm just building a foundation of my house. So, you build a bit of a foundation and then you go over here and you go over here. It's not being scattered. It's it's understanding what feels right. And sometimes you don't know why. Like, why did I have to leave, my love of policy and go into my love of healing? Until later you find out why. And now my training in policy has been very valuable in the last several years, in my healing work and in my other experiences of life that have come up, where I'm a trained policy analyst and I can just utilize it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So really, like really Renaissance, women, Renaissance men, like we're able to, when we're guided to apply ourselves to that which feels right, and develop some skill and expertise, and then sometimes we go somewhere else with it, with ourselves, and develop, and then it comes together later, in some way, shape, or form. And those are the 4 pillars of our foundation of our house. And so I don't want to live in a house that has a weak foundation and has only one wall. And you can't have a party, you can't have fun in that house because it's drafty and, all the elements come in, right? It's
That's
like
right.
you're always protective, right? Until your house is solid. And bringing in that spiritual, universal energy into all of that strengthens our core energy, and we feel secure. Right. And we have that knowing that no matter what unfolds in the future, I will be okay because I'm whole from within.
Yes.
And that is ultimately, part of the gift of integrating spirituality into our life and our business, because our business is a extension of who we are. Like with my Reiki students, when I teach Reiki and students want to start their own practice, I always say there's no difference in me when I'm with a client as when I'm with my family, other than I'm conscious to provide valuable service, to that person, but I'm still me. It's the same Lidia.
That's right.
And that's the beauty of living in that energy, that one energy. It's never draining. It's never like, oh, I came home drained, from work. No.
You actually get energized.
Yes, you actually get energized. That's exactly what happens. So, the value of being conscious, I call it being centered, connected, and conscious, of the body, mind, spirit in our daily life, and it's invaluable.
Absolutely. I love that. Centered, connected, and conscious. Absolutely. That's beautiful. And the energy is just overflowing when you're in that space. Yeah.
It is. Because you're grounded. You're grounded in your core energy. You're connected to your essence, and you're conscious of your spirit, of your thoughts, of your actions. And I'm always checking in with myself. I'm always, am I whatever, grounded, energized, and focused? Am I centered, connected, conscious? And that's a responsibility to myself, that I stay that strong tree. I'm that strong tree trunk with the roots and the branches, because if I don't nourish myself in every way, how can I reach out to others? So I'm always checking in with myself. Am I living beyond my capacity? Do I need to pull back? Do I need to expand my capacity because now I'm in a greater state of health and being, and I can do more and be more? And so that self-awareness and relationship with self is really the art of living and the key to success, which is energy, right? It's working with your energy.
Absolutely. And you spoke about, this is really interesting. I'm loving this conversation, by the way. You're speaking to my soul. I love it. And you mentioned something earlier that I wanted to pull on, a thread that I wanted to pull on. You talked about security. And I just had a conversation today with a client about this idea of security, because right now we're in the middle of a pandemic. And, a lot of people are feeling very uncertain. I hear this word all the time. Things are just so uncertain. I want security. I just want to feel safe. I just want to feel this. And I thought, well, have you ever had absolute certainty? Have you ever had absolute security? And the answer is no for all of us. We've just been living in this illusion that we are somehow secure, because if not, most of us would run around screaming, scared out of our minds to step out the door. But the truth is, like what you're saying is, on an intellectual level, it might be scary to live with that uncertainty, and we might believe that there is no security. But on a spiritual level, we can have that sense of security and safety. Am I hearing that right?
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
This is a whole topic. We have a whole another telesummit on.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Maybe I'll do that next. There you go.
Because it really gets, this is the paradigm shift, what you just described, is to begin the cliche, own your own power.
Mm-hmm.
But really on an energetic inner level. So I watched a video a long time ago, and then I sourced out the scientist. It was Michio Kaku, the scientist. And he said this was 20 years ago or something. So I'm sure there's even more abundance of energy sources in the universe now. But he said there's 100 billion, so scientifically measured, 100 billion solar systems in our Milky Way galaxy, and 100 billion Milky Way galaxies in our universe. And then we have universes expanding and contracting around us. So let's say 20 years ago, astrophysicists could identify with their equipment 100 billion times 100 billion sources of energy in this known universe.
Right.
So you and I and everyone here today, we are that energy. Mm-hmm. I am 100 billion times 100 billion sources of energy. So when I allow that into my body, when I understand on a visceral level that I am fully supported in the universe, we are the elements of the universe.
Yes.
Then we can connect our own healing and self-development to that core energy. So I call our core energy as our personal signature of infinite universal energy. So we are the shining like gems in the crown of the universe, all connected. So I will always be okay because I'm infinite energy. I can always feel secure. It's when the mind and the external, what I call the external stressors, try to give us information that we're not infinite in our power, that we're limited.
Yeah.
And through being limited, then I start to cut myself off from my energy, and I start to feel insecure.
Yeah.
And insecure, I start to feel afraid.
Yes.
And when I'm afraid, I start to bring in protection. And when I need to protect, then I want to defend. Right? So then we're moving to the old paradigm of the last 13,500 years of separation, of isolation, rather than now we're evolving into the new paradigm of light, of connectedness and unity and oneness. And that's just not a cliche. That's not just from some spiritual guru, meditation, retreat or something. We're one energy field. All the astrophysicists, I can identify that now. Every physical object is matter in motion. So we become secure through our own healing and self-development that allows us to connect with our consciousness of our infinite energy.
Yeah.
And that's really when I was in my deep healing in my late 20s, and I had dreams like of my own, like I had died twice. Well, I actually physically died twice. My
Oh
body,
my.
yeah, and I had the life review and everything and all of that. And I had these out of body experiences and being in different dimensions. And after you go through that, the way you move through life is knowing that you're infinite energy, not with arrogance, but with more humility,
Yes.
that you're so grateful to have the earth experience. And the earth experience is so short.
Hmm.
Um, that why we don't need to be afraid, for the short number of years that we're here, because my life will continue on after I leave my body.
Yes.
And so that made me feel secure when I came out of my deep healing, that my life was guided really by the preparation of my birth into my next life, whatever that is,
Mm-hmm.
into the light. And that I wanted my life to feel for me and my life to feel as whole and complete as I evolved beyond this life. And so then you live without attachment. You're
Yeah.
fully committed, you're fully engaged, but you don't absorb energies that don't support you.
Yes.
So a lot of like light workers, healers absorb energy that isn't theirs. And I had that when I was very young. I was always
Mm.
absorbing people's energy. I was very sick. My energy field was fragmented. But as we strengthen from the inside out, we have that knowing of our infinite life while staying grounded in the daily responsibilities.
Yes.
So like doing the laundry or paying my taxes, or balancing the grocery bill, like
Right.
that's
Right.
that's the mastery of living in the spiritual and in the material. But we can do it in a way that causes us stress, and we don't have to feel stress from the external circumstances
Mm.
unless we engage in those circumstances. So
Yes.
I acknowledge the external world and the reality of that. But I stay centered, connected, and conscious in my own soul mission.
Yes.
So, and we can talk it more. I mean, one of my things that I'm going to be offering is my ebook, 10 Tools to Survive and Thrive in Uncertain Times. Um,
Wonderful.
and I work a lot with clients in helping them be grounded and focused and energized right now, so they can continue to either heal from a chronic
Mhm.
health condition or to continue on their solution.
Yes.
Like, we're supposed to continue on with our life path in the midst of any circumstance.
Yes. Exactly. Oh my goodness. This has been so amazing, Lydia. I have a feeling that you and I could sit and I mean, I love your background. First of all, I share that already. I feel like I'm in your living room. I feel like I'm in your beautiful spiritual space. I know we could have this conversation for hours, and we will. We will. At least I hope. At least I hope. But I so appreciate you sharing all of your wisdom and all of the wonderful insights. There's so much to pick apart. And I know that for myself, I'm going to have to listen to this again and take notes next time. And I hope all the listeners here can really appreciate the wisdom that you bring here today. So thank you.
Well, it's my honor and pleasure. I'm very humbled, and I feel so blessed that you and I have connected and that I can
Yeah.
share this
Yeah.
beautiful telesummit with all our friends here and the world about our potential to continue on in the midst of uncertainty, in
That's
the
right.
midst of the unknown, in the midst of upheaval, because that's what we came here to do.
Right.
We came here to rise to our own potential, to bridge this time so that we create the foundation for the new paradigm of light in 2100. which is
I love
another
it.
conversation.
There you go. That'll be a workshop in itself, and I can't wait to talk about that. Absolutely. So thank you so much. And
Honor and pleasure.
I know you also have a special offer. All the experts are sharing a free gift with our audience and anyone who participates here. So can you talk a little bit about your free gift?
Absolutely. Well, I have two.
Awesome.
The one, yeah, one is the ebook on
Mhm.
10 tools to survive and thrive in uncertain times, where I go through different approaches and modalities that you can use yourself, that you don't have to seek outside help for. Even Reiki energy healing, even if you don't have an attunement, you can connect with your own light and channel energy to yourself. So that's a wonderful guidebook, for anyone to sort of look through to see what they connect with. And also, I'm
Wonderful.
offering a free health and empowerment session, where
Ooh,
we can talk about how to be healthy, empowered during these challenging times, relieve stress, get grounded, energized, focused, stay on your life mission, and really create a foundation for achieving those life goals, whether the health, whether it's something to do with your business. But I'd love to chat. I'd love to chat with everyone here, and get to know you through a free session.
that's awesome. Oh my goodness, that's so generous because I know that, our time is the most precious gift. So that is a very generous offer. Thank you, Lydia.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So I look forward to hearing all of the wonderful things that you're going to be doing in the future. And we're going to have the links in the email that people receive so they can access you and your wonderful gifts. And again, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your wonderful wisdom today.
Thank you. It's an honor and pleasure. And we'll see everybody in the light.
Sounds wonderful to me. Take care.
Bye.